Okay, so we are live. We'll just wait for 2 to 3 minutes so that the audience can join. Until we
Okay.
can have some chit chat, we can know about you. I got to know you are MCLC speaker at Institute for Emerging Careers. So I've seen a lot of positive feedback. Guys, you have mentored a lot of students. Would you like to
Uh,
share something about your journey, about your experience? It would be great.
my experience with IEC so far has been great. I actually happen to know some of the founders of IEC because we went to college together in UT Austin. So one of them reached out to me and just asked me to, participate. So I was like, absolutely, no question about it. Um, yeah, there's lots of different roles at IEC, but just based on what I was able to do, I think I volunteered for the mentorship opportunity. So yeah, I think every 2 to 3 months, I get assigned 2 to 3 mentees that I would speak with, on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, and kind of help them with their journey, with their particular issue. They're all in different circumstances, different stages in life, different goals and objectives. So based on that, I would just try to do the best I can, and have regular calls and guide them forward. So, but yeah, so I've really enjoyed it, and yeah, maza aata hai. I mean, it's fun for me too.
Yeah, I have heard this positive feedback from some of the students. I was also, a student at IC once a time.
Uh,
So here I'm working with them now as a placement lead, like
okay,
under the placement team with the placement lead. Sorry to say there was this misword of use. So really happy to have you over here. So let's just start. We have audience. We have like a solid 8 numbers over here. So the
okay,
streaming has been live, so they will start joining and then leaving on their own. So maximum number goes till 20 to 30 to 50. So we can continue our talks in respect of people who joined on the punctual time.
that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll
Inshallah.
just introduce shortly that you are one of IC people, so everybody can know that you represent IC at this point. Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Mariam Salman once again here to lead this session with our co-host Miss Musfira Adnan and our very own amazing speaker RIZWAN UQALI. So I cordially welcome all of you to all this stream session. We have been having this Digital Architect Conference 2025 as a first tech event, which is happening virtually. Like in Pakistan, it's very virtual, very first time. So the floor is open for the speaker. I think you guys would have amazing, fruitful full session for this one as well, since we had amazing one at the back of the days as well. So the floor is open, Mr. Rizwan. You can carry on. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Mariam. Appreciate it. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. So it's a pleasure to be here and speaking with you all. I hope you can hear me and perhaps even see me okay. And I also have some slides up that I will go through and talk about the topic that I've been requested to speak to, which is career architect, navigating and owning your professional journey. So I think this is going to talk about, from my perspective, my own personal career journey to some extent, because that's my personal experience. And then as we go through it, right, I can talk about some of my lessons learned, some of the turns and twists and turns that I had, and really some of the principles that I try to follow and apply that I've learned along the way. So hopefully, inshallah, it should be beneficial for everyone. Just first of all, on the personal side, I guess I am from Pakistan, of course. I was born in Hyderabad in 1973, and then I moved to Karachi with my family in 1985. I actually went to St. Bonaventure High School initially in Hyderabad, and then we went to St. Patrick's High School in Karachi, where I completed my high school. And from there, I moved to Austin, Texas for my undergraduate. Somehow, I'm not sure how I ended up there, but that's how life moves. That's how it turned out for me. Uh, none of my family members traveled anywhere, but somehow I ended up doing that. And then so I I was in University of Texas at Austin for my undergrad, and then my graduate studies there. And then I moved to Dallas, Texas, and started, my career, so to speak. So, and so this is from a career perspective. This would be I'll just start from my first job out of college. I've had other jobs, during college, etc.
We cannot hear you. Musfir, can you hear him?
No, that only.
Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes, it's audible back.
Okay. All right. Yeah, looks like it's back now. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I think the first job out of college, or first job that you have professionally, whether it's out of college or during college or what have you, that's really when you're starting out and learning the professionalism, your structure, communication, discipline, and that really shapes you throughout your life. I think it's very important to take that as an opportunity to learn. You're not going to be knowing a lot. Obviously, you're just stepping out. A lot of folks that I speak with are in that situation where they've graduated, perhaps they've had a year or two work experience, or they've had a few internships, and even in their resumes, they're trying to add projects or their internships just to fill up the page for their resume, which is perfectly fine. So the point is that you're not really um, fully acclimated to how professional attitude and behavior needs to be. So that's something that needs to be learned constantly. So as I would mention at the very end, right, your skills get you the job, but your attitude is what propels you forward, right? Once you get into a particular company and you start working, the way you uh, apply yourself and the way you behave around people really speaks volumes, and it's extremely important for you to be um, take that as seriously as your technical skills, whatever they happen to be, right? So you could be a technical person doing programming, you could be in finance, you could be a teacher, you could be, any number of skills, whatever you graduated with, you could be, a medical student. But once you're in a work environment, you know, you need to be somebody that people can rely on. Somebody can you have to be reliable, you have to be courteous, you have to be responsive, you have to communicate clearly, and you have to build your relationships. All of that is so very important. Like, you could be the best of the best in your technical skills, whatever they might be, but if you're missing these elements, you're going to end up being a toxic person in the workplace, and you don't want to be that. And a lot of folks, unfortunately, you navigate the workplace, and you would find people in different circumstances. I've also noticed a lot of folks would be one way in private, and then they would, when you work with them within a company environment, they would somehow change. They would become different. So I think you also want to be consistent, right? Have a strong personality that is courteous and reliable, right? If somebody is asking you for something, they should know that it's going to get done. If a customer has asked you for something, they should know that you're going to respond to them immediately, right? The turnaround time for getting back to a customer is less than 10 minutes, right? A turnaround time for getting back to a coworker is whatever you tell that coworker it's going to be, right? So if somebody sends you a message, can I please have this and that? You let them know, right? Sure, I will have this over to you in 2 days or 3 days, right? You don't wait the 2 or 3 days to respond back to them, right? So set those expectations. But for a customer, you have to be immediate, right? 10 minutes, 15 minutes is all the customer should wait if they're waiting on you, right? And so you have to also learn the corporate structure, whichever company that you're in, understand how that company is structured, understand who your manager is, who his manager is, what are the different teams, what are the business units, who is the CEO or the founder, right? Who reports to him, etc. And you have to know the entire company structure, have a bird's eye view, and know where you sit in that picture, right? Because you're at the end of the day, you are trying to add value to the company. You're not just trying to do your job and leave. You're trying to add value to your company. You have to know how you are generating revenue for that company. And oftentimes we fail to think about that, right? I've done my job. I'm out the door. Great. But you're going to get paid for today that you worked. How did you pay back the company for the work that you did today? Right? How was that productive? How was that revenue generating? Right? And we don't often think about that when we are outside of work, because outside of work, your work is not revenue generating. Whatever you might be doing, it's fine, right? But once you're on the clock and you're going to be submitting a timesheet, for example, that timesheet has to be accurate, right? If you said that you worked 40 hours that week, you should have worked 40 hours that week. That doesn't mean that you are in the office 40 hours doing something, right? But that has to be a truthful timesheet, right? And so again, uh, so learning the corporate structure, building relationships before you need them, right? This is what I mean by understanding who your entire organization is. Don't just be stuck within the team that you happen to be in. Branch outside, meet other people, get to know them, see what they're doing professionally, right? In a professional environment, professional discussions as to how does your work affect theirs, right? And so you should be aware of that. um, Going beyond the job also, right? So when you're doing your work, there's always initiatives at the office that you can take up on your own. So for example, I've just listed a few examples here. At my company, right, we would do career fairs at UT Austin, which is the university that I happen to go to anyway. So I was familiar with it. And so I would go, I would set up the booths, I would participate in the career fairs, I would represent the company at those career fairs, I would interview students there. Whoever, finally got hired, I would be their, I forget the word, buddy, I think. So I would be their buddy, and I would, work with them for their initial month or 2 months or what have you. Just, doing things. I also taught a class at UT Austin. So like UT Austin had a class on telecommunications. Um, uh, I happened to work for a telecommunications company, so I taught a class there also to students on behalf of the company, right? So just representing the company outside of work is also extremely appreciated by everyone, right? If there are industry conferences that you can speak on, go ahead and speak there, right? I mean, just find opportunities. If there are some publications that you can write for, go ahead and write something and get your article published, right? If there are some industry awards, like in technical field, you could write some applications perhaps and submit those your programs for in a competition. Do that, right? I mean, as long as it's just find opportunities to showcase your skills and abilities in a way that is a marketing effort for your company outside the company walls, right? If the company has anything like that that's going on, and if not, then you could set something up, right? You could set up a university outreach program, or suggest that, right, to the company. Or you could have uh, can think of, you could submit, you could suggest that why don't we write articles for such and such publications, why don't we do certain things, and you can work with your HR and be a little proactive about it. I think companies appreciate employees who are kind of thinking outside of whatever their core job is, right? And one of the reasons companies would hire fresh people from colleges because they want these ideas anyway, right? They're expecting what they would call fresh blood, right? To come up with new ideas, to do new things. So they're expecting you to do that because they feel that because they've been there, the managers, whoever are there, they've been there for, 10, 12 years. They've gotten used to um, however the things are going on, and they'll keep doing the same things over and over again. But they're expecting part of their return on investment of hiring new young people is that they will come up with new ideas, right? So you should definitely do that. There's also something called the layoff, which I was also laid off, so I wanted to mention that too. So after 6 years of my first job, from my perspective, I was doing really well. I was promoted almost every year. During those 6 years, I was a team lead at the time. I had a team reporting to me. Things happen, right, from a company perspective that are outside of your control, and and layoffs happen, right? It could be one, two. In my case, I think it was my entire department that was basically axed from the company. So it was over 100 people. The CEO at the time decided to basically offshore that whole development, that whole piece of the business. And so there was a layoff. At that point, I was around 30. I was married with a child, or maybe two at that time, children, I think. And that's definitely stressful, right? And so I think in hindsight, right, those are the opportunities that really um, build your resilience. It builds your trust. Um, I remember, walking out of that office. I was actually quite hopeful, right? I think it's just tawakkul, I guess, could be a word to use for there. But I think it was just um, you have faith, right? And I think that helps you, and then you know that it's going to be a positive turn after a while, and you have to be tested in a way before you can move on to the next phase. So um, so yeah, I think that was a stressful situation. It also helped me deal with stressful situations because they come along quite often, sometimes, so it's a good practice in that way. But you have to keep your faith, and you have to um, keep your cool, really, right? So uh, about 6 months of looking, right, finances got tight, as it usually happens. But you just keep doing all the things that you have to do. You keep reaching out to your contacts, you reach out to your mentors, you reach out to your other customers that you had worked with through your company in the past. You just reach out to your network, and you start building your skills, etc. Alhamdulillah, in about 6 months, maybe 7 months, I was able to find something that actually was better for me in the long run, right? So that's what, in a way, that's what I'm still working on, as I will explain here just in a little bit. So one of the things that it also taught me, as I mentioned in this slide here, is that not to depend on a company for security, right? So I felt like, at some point you have to take the rein in your own hands, so to speak, to have more control over your life. And I kind of had that lesson um, kind of baked in me, which I applied later, or I would say maybe 5, 6 years ago, right? So about maybe 12 to 15 years after this event, I was able to step out on my own. But that lesson was baked in me during that point in time, right? Setups are setbacks are setups for growth. I thought that is really true, right? And so from that point on, I actually entered a different career, so to speak. So I went into SAP consulting, which is the opportunity that came in front of me. At that point, I was looking for any opportunity. I did get a job at Lockheed Martin, which I declined because it was a defense contractor. I didn't want to work for that. um, and so I declined that, which was a difficult decision to decline it at the time. But I just didn't feel right working for weapons manufacturer. But I kept looking and looking, and finally came up with a good opportunity where I could kind of shift my career, leverage what I knew from the past, and shift it into a slightly different direction. And so I went into consulting. And so with consulting, it was taking a step back initially because I was fresh and new in that field. So I had to go back to a base salary. But then uh, the rise was much faster. So in about, I would say 3 years, I was past what I was making previously, right? If that makes sense. So literally taking, 2 to 3 steps back. And then in about 2 to 3 years, I was, doing better than what I would have been doing otherwise, right? And the trajectory is faster. And with consulting, I was able to work with multiple customers. I had exposure to executives all the time, because anytime you are selling to a customer, you're selling to the executives of that company. So you're interacting with, different level of, uh, uh, you're dealing with what you would call C-suite, C-level executives to sell your services to them. I was able to lead larger teams, etc., and also learn a lot of other things that I'm using now, right, with my own company, right? So, and this is where I learned all that, right? Just how the HR works, how immigration works, resourcing, commercial models, contracts, pricing, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many things that you would need to know to run a business. I happen to have a sneak peek at all of that during my consulting years, because every project was like a small business, was like a small, it needed everything, right? Anytime you get a project, you needed all the the departments of the company to come together to make that project a success, right? You needed the marketing, you needed the sales, the HR, the commercial models, the legal, which is not mentioned here, contracts, pricing, all of that. You need to take care of it all to make that project a success. So it's like you're learning how to build a business um, in a small scale. So I thought that was very beneficial for me. I was managing escalations, guiding clients, and also learning how to build and run an organizational structure. And I think that was a very important lesson learned, because that's really a skill which I had underestimated initially. There's one thing to have 2 or 3 people on your team, and another one to have 10 people working for you, and a completely different ball game if you have 100 or 500 people on your team. You have to have different levels of organizational skills to be able to manage uh, the teams as the team scales up. And I think that was a very important lesson learned as well. And frankly, I was able to use those skills outside of work as well, right? In some volunteering initiatives that I did outside of work and also inside of work, where I really put my organizational skills um, into practice to lead some outside of work charitable organization as well. Here, I think I mentioned that here. So again, taking initiatives, helping people. So as you are gaining skills, right, then you can also just see how you can use those skills in other places, right? You have certain skills. Um, why not use them, right? So these are skills that were developed through scorched earth methods. And as if I'm put into a client with a difficult situation, or even personal life difficult situation, I think it really helps to have some of those skills to be able to keep your cool, right? Think through clearly, turn out the noise, focus on the right message, right? What is the actual problem? And just calmly, be able to, you know, suggest the next step of action, right? So you can exit the situation that you're in. And I think those are very important life skills as well that you happen to learn in a very compact pressure cooker work environment. Um, and yeah, I think that's something that is underestimated, because what you become at work, you will also be outside of work. Um, and you can use that for the better, right? If you happen to learn certain skills, if you happen to increase your stress stamina, there's a stamina for everything, right? I mean, if you run a marathon, your stamina of running would increase. um, and so similarly, there is a stress stamina as well. If you just happen to handle more stress more frequently, your stamina would increase, and then you're able to think more clearly instead of getting all flustered and being foggy with your thought process um, in a high stress situation. So I think that helps a lot as well. And so here, how am I doing on time, by the way? I think it's been half an hour. Is that good? I mean, am I okay to keep going, Shalna?
Yeah, we are on time. We have still like 25 minutes.
Okay, okay, Shalna. Okay, I'll keep going. I think okay. Um,
But we have some questions.
oh, please go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, please go ahead. Don't please stop me whenever. Forgot to mention that.
Okay, so I'll go with a few of the interesting questions, which are like, how can someone differentiate between passion, hobby, and career potential?
Oh, that's fantastic. Um, career, hobby, passion, hobby, and career potential. So ideally, um, ideally, you want to love what you do, right? But what you love to do should also be profitable for it to be a career. So I think the thing is, the other way to think about it is, if you have a profitable career, then it will allow you to do what you love to do, right? So sometimes I would say that it's okay if your career is not your passion, but if you have a profitable career, it will allow you to pursue your passion, whatever it might be, right? So I think some people are in a fortunate situation where their passion becomes profitable, um, whatever that might be, and so it turns into their career. And I think that's a very good situation to be on, right? Like somebody who's like a athlete, maybe loves to play tennis, keeps playing tennis, he gets good at it, and he keeps making money, and all he's doing is playing tennis is and making money, and he's good to go, right? uh, or an artist who manages to sell her art, right, and enough to be able to make a living out of it, right? um, but oftentimes, it may not be that profitable, right? So if you're in a situation where you need to make money as a career, now not everybody does, but we're in this talk where we're talking about career, right? So uh, the assumption is that you are someone who would uh, want to make money with your career. So it that's what you then need to focus on, right? what's profitable, what kind of skills are in scarce supply, because those skills will fetch a higher return on your effort, right? It's a supply and demand, right? So if you have skills that everybody has, or a lot of people have those similar skills, then your rate would certainly be lower, right? So you need to find areas of skill where you can upskill yourself um, um, and get into a situation where you are sought after, right? Uh, and that'll allow you to make money. And once you make the money, then you will be able to pursue your passions more effectively, right? So that's one way to look at it. But if you're in a fortunate position that you can do both, then absolutely go for it. Now, having said that, if somebody is going to college and they're picking a major, um, I understand this, this dichotomy. Do you go with what you like to do, or do you go with is what is profitable? And I think that if you're planning to get a job and start working on a career after you graduate, you need to select the most challenging major, because the fewest people will have those skills, and that's going to give you the best chances of success, right? Um,
Very, very well answered. I personally love
okay.
the depth of answer you created. There was just this perspective, since you are from Pakistan as well, and I am also from the same place where you have been. I'm also from Hyderabad. We have
Ah,
this. Yeah, I live really near to St. Bonaventure, by the way.
oh, okay. Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's what a
Yeah,
coincidence. That's
I was like,
amazing, Oshan.
yeah, it feels good to have some similarity. So, but I had this, there's this thought after your question that, parents over here do not uh, feel, the passion and the career potential. They do not differentiate these things. What do you have to say on that? If something, if for example, if there is a daughter or a son, if a son likes to cook, I'm not getting controversial over here, but it's just a question.
That's
If a son likes to cook and has to, persuade that thing to become a chef or something, it's also a
okay.
respectable profession, right? But
Yes.
it is not thought as a career potential the way you told.
Yeah.
So what do you
Yeah. I
have
mean,
to
it's
say on
it's 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 definitely a respectable profession. There's no. I mean, a lot of. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's a respectable profession. Um, being a cook, or being a tailor, or being a jewelry maker, or being um, you know anything, right? I mean, you could you could be making arts and crafts, you could be making rallies, or drugs or something. They're all very respectable professions. Think from I would say, if you are you have to see your if you're trying to make money, right? Depends on what lifestyle you're trying to lead, right? A lot of folks are just okay with, not just okay, they're perfectly content with the life that they're in, and that's great, you know. And if they would like to do that and be in that mode, I I don't want to criticize that, right? I think that's fantastic. If you're someone who would like to um, maximize your earning potential, then that's a different goal, right? And then you have to look around your society and see which professions are earning more than others, right? Um, and then you pick up the profession which is the highest paid profession, and you go towards that, right? If you're trying to lift your family out of poverty, then you need to maximize your earning potential, right? And then you have to see which professions are earning, regardless of how respectable the profession is. Some will earn more than others. And then you can look around and see which professions are earning more. right? And when you do that, then you could be the person who could lift not just your family, but your Khandan family out of, you could be the person that people look to, right? And it'll be easy for you to lift other people up as well, uh, and not to a point where they can be comfortable, right? Or not just be comfortable, at least not be stressed, right? They will feel like there's a backstop. Like if there is something happens, I can always, text so and so, and it'll be good, you know. And so you could be that person too. But if you want to be in a simple, not simple, but just continuing with the lifestyle, which is perfectly fine, then you can go with your passion. Like in my last slide, I have this thing where, um, oh my God, I made freedom, right? Freedom at the end of the day, freedom is when you have no bank interest to pay, no investor demanding returns, no public company expecting quarterly reports, and also, I guess, no income that requires your labor. But I mean, that could be, um, you could still be working, but somebody who has no interest, no investment, no expectations like that, that person is richer than billions. They have public companies, they have massive loans, they have to make their payments every month, even if it's a large amount. They still are tied down with the system, right? So, and so sometimes, if you have to get up and be able to be more useful, then you have to tie yourself down, unfortunately, sometimes to get into that situation until you can free yourself again at the end of it. Um, Sorry, I don't know if that made sense, but you know.
Yeah, it totally does. Thank you so much for clearing it up. So we can continue with your presentation. We have 15 minutes left. So let's hear from you what more you have for us.
Okay, so I think I'll skip through some of my other career direction. I think I was just writing about um, some principles, just some things to keep in mind as you're going through your career. Okay, so build strong relationships at work. So there's a difference between personal relationships and work relationships, right? So have strong work relationships in the sense that you're somebody that is relied upon. You're somebody that is reliable and responsible, both, right? So you take on the responsibility, and then you're reliable and you follow through on it, and you make people uh, just don't rub people the wrong way. I mean, these are all very. I think from my perspective, they're very kind of no brainer. What I would say, common sense, but it helps to keep this in mind constantly. Don't only reach out to people when you need something from them. You know, like there's, oh, so and so is calling. Like, what does she need? What does she want now? Like, you shouldn't be that person. Like, reach out to people and offer value, right? Uh, help them and to add value to their day, right? Offer value, information, help, insight, encouragement, right? Don't just be the person who's always calling. Like, only time they call is when they want something, right? Give space to people, and this is especially true if you have people reporting to you. If you have a team that reports to you, give them space. Don't be rushed, right? Don't say things like, "Well, I don't have time right now. I don't. I mean, I'm busy right now." If you're busy right now, you don't have time right now. Just call them back when you are free. Don't be saying that. You know, for example. Uh, so just get back to them when you have time, and when you talk to someone, be relaxed. Don't be rushed, right? Um, give long pauses. Let your words marinate. Allow people to digest what you've said and be able to say what they want to say. People need space and time to say things. Um, you could, you could just not say anything and just let them speak and just comment. Have ask open-ended questions so people can be comfortable to take it in the direction that they choose, right? If someone's, let's say, you have a coworker and they send a message, oh, I had a flat tire, I'll be late. I'm just giving an example, right? Um, and your response shouldn't be, well, okay, so when can you have the report ready? You know, your response should be, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you need help with the flat tire, right? Um, for example, right? So I think uh, just have, be more considerate. I think my slides went away, but it's okay. Am I still coming through though? Okay. If you can confirm I'm coming through, then I can.
Yes,
Okay.
you are.
Okay, inshallah. Okay, yeah, it came back. All right. Okay, and then lead without ego. I mean, again, this is I've noticed where some people, like I would have teams where I would have managers, and then those managers would have teams reporting to them. And then the managers, let's say, would have 6 or 7 managers, and each manager would have, I don't know, some number of people. And when I would speak to the folks who are reporting to the managers, they would tell me that the managers were not listening to them properly. Like they would have issues with their managers, right? Um, but when the managers are speaking to me, they're perfectly courteous and very nice and always, behaving themselves properly. So it just, and I've seen that so many times that somehow, sometimes people would like speak to their reportees a certain way and speak to their superiors a different way, you know. Like don't be that person, like just because you have a team reporting to you, you're not there to boss them around, right? You're there to guide them through their project, right? So um, you're not a boss. You're a guide. You're supposed to know more than them. So you're supposed to just just in a way just treat them as children, but not really. I mean, it's slightly different, but you're supposed to take them where they are and move them forward from there, right? I guess this is advice for someone who is a manager or who's trying to become a manager. You're not your authority that you get is to support people, not to intimidate them. You know, so use your authority properly. Use it for sure, but use it in a way that is productive and not punishing. Because then people won't want to work in your team. uh, Compliment in public, correct in private. I mean, this is so important, right? So it's like even it works in verbal communication and also in email communication. If somebody's done something great, you copy everyone, right, on your praise when you respond back to them. But if you see an issue, then you call that person and just talk to them about it, right? You don't criticize in public. You don't reply all and say, "Hey, this report looks wrong." For example, uh, it's so no brainers, but it just I think it maybe needs to be said. A lot of folks have a habit of mocking while joking, which is so strange. You know, I don't know why people would do that, but just don't make fun of anybody even as a joke, right? It's not funny for them at all, right? And so, and these things like water cooler discussions, like if you have a manager who's not good, then bring it up with your manager if you have to, or don't, or just but you're not supposed to be standing around the water cooler and just talking about your manager or your director in a way that's not productive, really, right? So you're basically just spoiling the atmosphere, and you're also not working. So if you were going to put that time on your timesheet, then you've lied on your timesheet, because you weren't really working during that hour. So be careful, right? I think a lot of folks would just put, like, 8 hours a day on the timesheet, regardless of how much they work, and that's not a truthful timesheet. So be careful about that, right? These things are important. Um, yeah. Respect people's time, right? So if somebody's scheduled a 30-minute meeting with you, don't keep talking 45 minutes in. For example, how am I doing on time? By the way? Should I? Maybe I can just pause if there's any more questions, or if you're running up against to the top of the
No,
hour.
no, we have almost 5 minutes remaining, and we have, I think, this one question. Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
I think this could be the last question. It says that what does it mean to own your career in practical terms?
Did I say that? It sounds good, but was that something I said, or was that something that you've heard somewhere?
No, yeah, you mentioned
um,
something regarding
oh,
your own career while answering the first question. So there was this question after the
yeah.
first question. What do you mean by your own career in practical terms?
I think what I was probably trying to say was own your career, right? Own your career, not your own career, right? So own your career, meaning you have to be responsible for your career. It's your job to push it forward, right? Nobody else is going to do it for you, right? Nobody else is going to come help you. Nobody is going to come guide you. It really, I think this is just a thought process of being a little independent in your mindset. Oftentimes we are, thinking that somebody is going to come and help us. Um, that might be true, but you don't want to go through life in that way if you're trying to be independent, right? So if you're trying to be an independent person that other people could depend on, then you cannot be depending on anyone, right? So you have to own your career, right? It's a thought process that it's on me no matter what, right? Nobody's coming to save me. You can't be complaining about anything because nobody owes you anything. It's just a thought process. It's a mindset shift that you have to be, even though we're not, right? We all, I mean, I said, we all depend on Allah, and that's it, right? I think we can't be expecting people to do this or that for us. They might. If they do, that's great. But yet that can't be your going in assumption. Or you cannot put yourself in a situation with that if somebody doesn't come through, then you're going to be dead in the water, right? So you always have to have your contingency, you have to have your backup plans, you have to have your own way to handle things if depending on what might go wrong. It's like an insurance plan, right? So in insurance, if you get an insurance for your house, right, there's going to be a lot of what if scenarios. What if there's rain? What if there's flood? What if there's a fire? What if there's this or that, right? And then the insurance would come and um, bail you out, right? So for life situations, you have to have all of these what if situations in mind, and you have to have contingency plans for all of those things in a way that you're doing it yourself without having to depend on anyone else. That's what I meant by own your career. Inshallah, I think we're probably at the end of time. I can share these slides. But yeah, I think I just wanted to. So at the end of the day, this could
Yeah.
be your goal, to for a place to get to from a career perspective. That's how I would define freedom. This is where your career should lead to, not to a place where you have lots of debt and lots of demands, but you should get to a point where you have no debt, no interest, no money, no investors, no expectations. That's freedom. That's where you want to get to at the end of it all. So,
Thank you so much. What a beautiful session it must be. I've been leading the conference since 14th of the November. I've been hosting, 5 to 6 sessions daily after that. And it's 16th of the November and it's the second last session of the day. We have one more session left, but I must say this was one of the most smoothing, calming, and one of the very, there was nothing in rush. I was listening very carefully. There was something very nice in the session. I don't know what it was, but it was very good. I cannot mention what it was, but I was seeing everything. There were some of the points very normal, that we should not provoke people while joking, and these are some basic etiquette. But these things are not discussed so openly. So I think I really, really appreciate you for that. We have our co-host, Miss Musfira. Would you like to say anything on the session? I think she has some connectivity issues. So I'll wrap up the session over here. We got a lot of
Yes, I want to
comments.
say thank you to the sir, as the session is absolutely very good, and I find such amazing content in it. So thank you so much. It was a great hearing you, and your journey has all turned so much fun in it, and also so much difficulty in it. Like at every aspect, I give some lesson to hear about it, and there's a lot of difficulties, I must say. And thank you so much for such for your session and time, and you are extremely worth our time, and thank you so much for giving your precious time.
alhamdulillah. No, thank you so much, both. Thank you for hosting me. Thank you for having me. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It
my
was a
senior
pleasure.
journey was one of the best part of this session. It has roller coasters, ups and downs, but truly motivating. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you so much, everyone.
Mhm.
I would appreciate if you could just fill up the attendance sheet for your certifications, and I'll see you in the next session. With the speaker is waiting on the next line. Okay, so I'll be sharing real soon. Thank you so much, Ms. Farah. Thank you so much for joining in. You must be tired also.
Allah
So
Hafiz.
yes, everybody. Allah Hafiz. And Sanya, I couldn't understand, your message. I really wanted to convey what you were saying to the speaker. You can, text me. You have, my contact, so you can text me out, and we'll have it with the speaker. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Allah Hafiz. See you in the next session in 2 minutes.